Hey everyone, and welcome back to my studio. I'm Jonathan the Painter, and this is Stay Colorful. It's a few minutes out of the day where we can do something to be colorful, creative. Maybe it inspires you to pick up a brush and paint, or an instrument and play music, or just to do something that is a positive, colorful, important outlet for you in your day. And if nothing else, to watch me make a colorful mess out of something that I don't know what I'm doing with. A couple of episodes ago, we did our painting without a brush. And I told you the story of how I did the sunflower, and I asked the gentleman at the hospital if he could identify what I was doing, and I did it right from the tube. How many colors would it take? And I figured I was saying that maybe some foreshadowing into another project we were working on. And I was doing this demonstration at the hospital too. I'm going to put our sunflower right up here. And I was thinking, if we can do one sunflower without a brush, we could probably do one of my favorite paintings, which is Van Gogh's sunflowers, that we can get to choose our background and how many sunflowers we want in the shape of our vase. And I think we could have a lot of fun with it. So using the same principles, really just where we did a little bit of the, let's say we did a little bit of the black for the center of the sunflower. And again, we could go back in with a brush on this one, but really just as a little recap, so we can get our little, it could be as abstract or as loose or as colorful as you want. And then, maybe in with a little green stem. So I was working on this little demonstration here, and because we had already done a good deal of work on the backgrounds and mixing, again, just to do a little recap, but mixing a little cerulean blue hue with a little bit of titanium white, and seeing the nice way that blends together easily and quickly into a sky. It's kind of using these techniques, because when I started painting, I'd be sitting in the waiting room with my dad, and you never knew how long you had, and you never really had a solid footing for what was going to be next. So I would always really just work really quickly. So sometimes it was just this. Sometimes it was just a little cerulean blue and a little titanium white, and it just kind of gives it with that little bit of yellow, and it just starts to give it that punchiness of color, and it builds the painting up. And I don't even know, I know Van Gogh's basically has a vase full of sunflowers, but how the sunflowers are arranged is really up to us. This is our painting, and this is going to be, our outlet, our creative outlet. And so when I was doing a workshop at the hospital, I was basically saying one neat thing is perspective in life, but certainly on this vase in particular. Because let's say we had a square vase, right? And let's say, maybe not use blue because the background's blue. Maybe we'll stick to using some white. So maybe we've got this vase, right? And depending on, so maybe ours is kind of rectangular. Depending on where you stand and how you look at this vase, it could look very different. So for instance, this isn't even showing up that well. Let's switch to some pink. Let's use the pink for our basic construct here. So for instance, if you could see what I built, a little framework here, and we essentially just gave ourselves a little bit of a two-point perspective. Meaning that if we take a vanishing point on the left side and on the right side of our horizon line, which is what separates, in this case, our sky from maybe a tabletop or grass or dirt or something in the foreground for our vase to sit on. So if we have a vanishing point on our horizon line, then we know that from one of the last videos that our verticals stay vertical, right? We knew that from when we were doing the sailboat mast, and then we had the reflection, and the vertical reflection stayed vertical. But what happens is the diminishing points for the lines that kind of go back into space, they all really want to head down towards that vanishing point, that dot. Sometimes it's way off the canvas. It doesn't even have to be on the canvas. But just as long as it's consistent between the top and the bottom, And then you start to build this three-dimensional, you can kind of see it, this three-dimensional shape. I'll fill it in a little even, right? So here it is. And let's say that's a little bit more rectangular, a little bit more geometric than it is, round or organic or something like that. Not very much like the Van Gogh vase at all, but still very nice. And you can actually see in this, what is kind of nice, is that the background, I'll actually do it in the green here. The background, you're looking sort of up at the opening. So you wouldn't see the opening, right? This would blend into this face, unless it was a glass vase, and then you could see through it, then you could start to see. But let's say this was all blended out, and this is essentially how you would draw a building, right? Because then let's say you had some windows, and you were looking at this from a distance now, and then you had some windows on this building, many floors. Right. And so then, let's say, now you've got this building, right, with a street and maybe a sidewalk here, whatever it might be, but you could just kind of see how just the simple perspective change really does influence how the entire composition feels. So this is great because now we've got the beginning of kind of a tall building, of a city building with an enormous sunflower growing out of the top of it. So if that's not green architecture, I don't know what is. But back to our vase, because I think I want to do something a little bit more like the Van Gogh vase, which has a little bulge to it. It's got a little rounded. But what we can do is take this rectangle and use it as a framework for how we want to build the vase we want to put in our painting. So in this particular case, again, we'll use just kind of a random color. I'm going to go back to the yellow. And I'm going to say, well, what if it bulges out a little bit here? And what if it bulges out a little bit here? And then it comes down, kind of sits on the table, right? And here is our, let me switch colors real quick on this. I could even use a little black on this. Let's say here's our horizon line. Let's say that's our horizon line. So that means everything above that's going to be sky. And everything below that is going to be tabletop, dirt, grass, something like that. Let's use the rest of this black up because it'll end up having a little shadow here. And even this, you could already start to feel how this would translate maybe more into a vase. Into a vase that maybe Van Gogh would be happy with, or happy that he inspired, or brings you some joy because you remember some memory, some, I don't know, some positive connection in your past, present, or future, right? And so now, even with this little technique, see how I just kind of bowed the white down, I bulged it out here. So with the same kind of bulge that we're getting on the sides, it gives it a little bit of that dimensional feel. And I know he's got that nice white, that white vase, right? And then it's got that little bit of a yellow. I think his has that bit of a yellow top. And even the colors, look, I just put these colors underneath it, but they mix nice, and they're dry enough, and it's enough randomness where it kind of adds some value. It adds some value. Everything you do adds some value, especially when you're painting. And then, you know what, if you don't love it or if you want to change something about it, you can change it afterward. So now we've got this nice lonely sunflower that definitely needs some company. Again, I don't remember the exact nature of Van Gogh's, but I remember, I think I'm going to take some burnt umber, a little bit of burnt umber, because I feel like it was the yellow and brown, very fall colors. Yellow, brown, white, black, warm, but but definitely, in the fall shades and spectrums. So, and then we got some green, we got the yellow still. So I'm going to say we have that little droopy sunflower. Let's say we're going to take a little of the yellow and just a dollop right there. We got that droopy sunflower. And we're going to surround it maybe with a little brown on this one. I don't know. And they just experiment with kind of how the colors work, right? And then take our green stem and then just whoop, and loop it right back in. You could just loop it right back in, and even like, then you could even give it a little green growth around the, and then it's just really, you could do brown sunflowers with yellow. Right? You could do, looks like we've got maybe some green vegetation, I feel like, right from the tube on this one. So he's like, how fun is that? Just right from the tube. Sometimes I wait for the tubes actually to dry out a little bit. And so it gives me this nice little ability to sketch, to take a little bit of the fun that I have in doing napkin sketches or sketchbook sketches and just apply it in color and sketch in color, and so then let's say we've got, just a bunch of, it's, then just have fun. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. I was stacking some stone walls the other day, and my friend Matt said, the key here is just don't overthink it. And I said, well, the stones are so heavy, it's awfully hard to overthink it because I just want to drop these as soon as I pick them up. So with painting, you got to get, it's fun. It's a different ball game, but you got to get into you don't want to carry the weight around so much. Especially with painting, it's not a weight you got to carry around. Just have fun, be light, be quick, have a little whimsy, tell a little story, and then before you know it, you got your own little Van Gogh sunflower painting, or a Jonathan the Painter version of a Van Gogh sunflower painting. Maybe we've got and then we've got some more here, right? Maybe that's a black dot with brown around it. Really, really have fun. Like, really make this your own. Really, explore with color and texture. Again, you could brush this all out. You could let it dry and paint over it and have fun seeing what the randomness does if you flip it upside down and kind of start over with it again. And then, maybe I'll add a little more. And then maybe I get to the point, I'm like, the yellow looks great, but it would look really nice too? A little orange, a little Connor's orange. I call this, it's cadmium orange. And I will get into the story behind the amazing, amazing young man that was Connor. Who was a very bright, colorful, orange-loving painter. And so maybe we add a little Connor's orange into the mix here because that makes me happy. It makes me think of all the people that inspire me. You got to realize that even if this is just a fun, colorful distraction, you spend 1 minute on this and you've wasted 1 second of your life kind of hanging out with me on this, and it goes no further than that. It really inspires me. I love connecting with people at the hospital, with people in my studio, and I know that even if it's people that come in and we don't have this really grand, direct conversation, I know that everybody's been through challenges, and I know that everybody's overcome a lot to get to the point where they're in my studio or crossing paths at the hospital. And it's really encouraging for me and inspiring for me personally to know that everybody's gotten through a lot of stuff. And so I know that, life is unpredictable like that, and we've certainly all been through it. But I also know that I've encountered so many amazing people that have gotten through so much in life that whatever comes my way, I'll get through it. Made it this far. We've made it this far. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that for all of us. So we're going to add a couple more stems in here when we wrap this up. And maybe a little more of the green as it kind of comes here, right? And then maybe we got a little more, like a little deeper shade, shadow, something that stands out here. And then, it's like what color? I love pink. And it's like, do you want to throw a little pink in? And sometimes you could pair it up against what you did. And you say, well, it looks good, but I really think I'm going to start with, on this, kind of the yellow that's in the rest of the sunflower painting, and then just a whole bunch of titanium white, and just kind of mix this on the page, and then see how I like it. And again, set up the contrast, give yourselves a little bit of a distinction between the object that we're trying to show off, like the flowers, and the place that it's kind of hanging out, which is, I don't know, I guess it's this table kind of thing, right? And I'm not even gonna, I think I'm gonna pretty much leave it there. I'll come back to this horizon line, because I'll get that. And I'm such a big fan of Vincent van Gogh. He always signed his name Vincent. And I read that was because he didn't have the best relationship with his family, with the Van Gogh side of his family, except his brother, who was awesome, really looked out for him. And when he signed his paintings, he signed it Vincent because that's what he felt like was the name that represents him. And me, I love my last name. I have an amazing family. I have a really, really amazing family, and I'm very, very blessed. And everybody's been very supportive of me. From my parents, having lost my dad and everything. My mom's incredible. My amazing wife and kids. Aunts and uncles. Cousins and nieces and nephews. I've been really, really fortunate. And so I don't sign my name Jonathan for any reason other than it's just easier to sign. But I put an exclamation mark after it. If you could see, is there anything I have signed that does have my name on it? Oh, like my book, Stay Colorful. If you want to get my book, help the cancer community, help support workshops, paint nights for nurses and patients, and all kinds of good stuff. But you could see there, created by Jonathan, the painter. And the Jonathan with the exclamation mark is just always because I want people to understand how much fun I have painting and how inspired I am by everybody and by the circumstances. And even though it was a bit of a tragedy, to say the least, that inspired me to pick my brush up, I've been so blessed to have met the best people and to have been kind of supported in such a colorful, compassionate way. It started with my dad's treatment. And I'm just trying to reflect that and pay that forward a little bit, throughout my day. So this is my sunflowers. And I had a lot of fun doing this and hanging out with you guys. And you know what? I might add to it tomorrow or the next day, or I might say, oh, you know what? My sunflowers, unlike Vincent's, maybe it needs a little pink trailing off in it somewhere, a couple spots, right? And so maybe that it starts to become our own, and then we put a little trace of pink down there. And so then maybe it starts to become our own in those little ways. And our stories start to influence the picture, and it just becomes the type of outlet that makes us feel good. So good. If not, and I don't even know about this, but if not, we'll flip it upside down and we'll do something else. But until then, let's just not be critical of the looking at it part. Let's just enjoy the making it part. That's the best part about art. It's a verb. I like the doing it part. And whatever inspires you to be creative, to pick up your brush or your guitar pick or do that thing that makes you feel good, cooking that meal, you have full permission to do it. And I look forward to crossing paths and sharing what those recipes are So until the next time, stay colorful out there, keep being yourself, and keep up the great work, everybody. I'll catch y'all soon.